Hey, this is Thomas from okitsnotenough.com, and today's video is a little bit different because what I'm wearing is the Virgin Money London Marathon finisher t-shirt, because on April the 28th, 2019, I ran my first marathon, the London Marathon, one of the biggest races in the world. And in this video, I want to share with you as much as I can about it. I have some footage from the marathon. I want to tell you a little bit about the preparation, just everything that it took and what the experience of running the marathon was like, because it was pretty incredible. Professional athletes like Eliud Kipchoge can make running the marathon look incredibly easy, crossing the finish line in 2 hours with grace and big smile. But let me remind you that a marathon is actually 42.2 kilometers or 26.2 miles long race, and regular mortals usually take anywhere between 3 to 6 hours to finish the race. That's a pretty long run. So obviously one cannot just show up hoping that somehow they'll be able to run the whole distance. If you want to finish the marathon and finish it without injury, you have to train for it, and you have to train pretty hard. I've always been a bit of a runner, but nowhere near the distance of a marathon. So I wanted to make sure that I prepared really well. So my training plan was spread over 4 months and consisted of 75 runs where I was running pretty much 5 times a week, where 2 runs were quite short, about 30 to 40 minutes, recovery runs. 1 run was about an hour and a half, medium distance run. 1 run was either interval or tempo run, and then 1 run was a long distance. It was usually anywhere between 2 and 3.5 hours. Many people, when they hear about the marathon training, are scared of the actual running, where the running itself is not a problem because you slowly build up to the distances. But for me personally, what I found challenging was the time it took. It's a massive time commitment. Running 5 times a week, you're committing approximately nearly 10 hours of running and working out in a week, which I found quite challenging. And just to give you an idea, in the 4-month training, I covered over 950 kilometers, which I think it's pretty good for a non-professional runner. Actually, I set for myself a goal for 2019 to run 1,000 kilometers, and I had no idea that I will actually nearly cover the distance in the first 4 months of the year. So let's talk about the race. Although marathon is a running race, it's actually not just about running. I would say even if you are a fit enough person who can run the distance, it's only half of the battle, because the second half is the mental warfare that sets off in your head, sometimes before the race or definitely during the race, when the doubt and pains and aches and exhaustion kicks in. I must say I had no nerves leading up to the race because I knew I did everything I was supposed to do. I followed my training plan. I was prepared as much as I could be physically. I had all my gear prepared beforehand, and I knew all the details and instructions that I needed for the race. The real excitement kicked in when I got to Greenwich Park in London. This is where the marathon starts, because there was a massive swarm of 42,000 runners getting ready, meeting each other, preparing for the race, some excited, some nervous, and all of them lining up to the starting lots and for the toilets. That was pretty incredible. Hey, if you believe in reincarnation, then do act in this life in a way that you won't come back as a toilet at the marathon race in your next life, because I must tell you, that must be the ultimate ordeal. It was pretty chilly on the day. It was actually ideal running weather because it was dry, it wasn't raining, but it was quite cold, around 10 degrees. And to organize so many people, I knew that there was going to be a bit of a wait, maybe almost an hour at the starting lot. So I used the old trick, which is you just take a bin bag or bin liner, make a hole through it, and you put it over yourself because it insulates pretty well against the kind of the temperature difference if the temperature is too low, and it keeps your body nice and warm. Because the worst thing that you can do if you get really cold, really shivery at the starting line, it can quite affect your performance because your muscles get too cold. And when you set off on the race, you just kind of rip it off like a Superman, and you just throw it somewhere on a sidewalk. And then 10 past 10 a.m. the announcer started the race. And first of all, I want to say that the crowd was absolutely incredible. Throughout the whole race, there were thousands and thousands of people along the route, cheering, shouting runners' names, giving away sweets and orange slices. They had banners with names and charities, pictures of Super Mario Mushroom encouraging you to tap it so you can power up your energy. There were also some with faces of politicians that you can punch for the same benefits. The crowd was just unbelievable. Absolutely fantastic atmospheres throughout the whole run. Now, there is one rule when it comes to races like this. Never try anything new on the race day or the day before, which means don't try new foods, new kinds of clothes or shoes, new way of training or exercising or stretching, because your body is not used to it and you never know how you're going to react to it, and it could really backfire on the race day. Now, I totally followed this rule when it came to my personal training, eating, and so on. I did one thing where I broke the rule. I updated the software on my action camera. And throughout the race,
having some troubles with my GoPro, it keeps crashing. Hopefully it will countersense this.
As soon as I started filming something, the camera started freezing, it was shutting down, it wasn't saving the videos. So I managed to shoot few videos as I was running, but every time it froze, I had to take the battery out, reset it, start it all over again. And when you're running, that's not the best thing to occupy yourself with, especially when you have dozens or hundreds or even thousands of runners around you. So that's one instance where I broke the rule, and of course it totally backfired on me. I want to share with you my experience and insight throughout the race at certain points. My initial idea was to be recording at every 2 or 3 kilometers, but because of the camera problems, I'll be sharing it with you like this, along with some photos and kind of other images that I managed to take throughout the race. So the first 10K, I must say, were pretty uneventful, apart from the amazing crowd support and all the fun that kind of goes along with it. I just focused on not starting too slow. I had my game plan.
1 kilometer in, keeping it very nice and easy, trying not to get ego tricked by all the other runners who are faster than me. It's important to start slowly, otherwise I'll pay for it later. But atmosphere so far absolutely amazing. It's not as cold as I thought it would be, and yeah. Let's go.
And it's very easy to get overly excited because of faster runners than you, because of all the crowd cheering and everything. But I knew that if I started too fast, I would start burning out, my legs would get stiff, my shins would probably start hurting, because that's something I experienced in my training if I started too fast. So my mind was just focused on resisting all the urges of running faster than I should. So this is what I was just focusing on throughout the first 10K. And apart from that, it was comfortable, the weather was great, I experienced no problems, no pains. It actually went better than I expected.
So 5 miles in, 8 kilometers, time 45 and a half. Feeling good.
Halfway mark of the marathon was around Tower Bridge, which is quite iconic place in London. And I can tell you, the closer we were getting to Tower Bridge, the crazier the crowd was getting. And it was just more and more people. It was louder. People were screaming and shouting and yelling your names and everything. And it was so loud that I almost couldn't hear the music that I was listening to in my earphones. And I remember passing the Tower Bridge and I thought, hey, this is easy, piece of cake. As you can see on the photo, I was running with my running backpack. It's very small, it's very light, it wasn't a problem at all. I needed some pockets for all the stuff that I was running with, which was my phone. I needed to take a spare charger for my phone because I was worried that the battery in my phone would run out, because I was using the GPS throughout the whole thing. I had my gels, I had painkillers, I had my action camera, I had spare battery for my action camera. And the plan was that around the 30k mark, I would actually drop it off because the race route went near my building. So I planned like a 10-second pit stop where I would just give it to my girlfriend. She was waiting by the roads. I would just keep the phone and the action camera and a couple of gels. And so everything went almost according to plan. I saw my girlfriend, I stopped, took off my backpack, had my phone in my hand already. Now, one thing that you may not know about the kind of extreme endurance exercising or running is that when you start running low on glycogen and just sugar in your blood, is that your thinking gets a little bit cloudy and you're just not as sharp as you would normally be on your regular day. And so I was rushing, it was really quick, I didn't want to lose time. So I took my phone, took a couple of gels, but I forgot to take the spare painkillers, which I knew that I'll probably need, especially because my ankles and my knees started kind of, I started feeling something there. But I totally forgot to take the painkillers and I dropped it all off and I continued running, which was a big mistake. Now, if you know a little bit about running, you probably heard of the term like hitting the wall. I usually experience a little bit of a wall around like K22, 23, but it goes away usually really quickly. And I anticipated another one later on, and it started creeping up around the like 35k mark. And around the similar mark, the burn in my ankles and my left knee really started to build up and escalate. And this is where I truly started regretting forgetting the painkillers in my backpack. And as I mentioned earlier, when you run for a few hours, you start to burn through most of your glycogen reserves. And your body starts acting up a little bit, just as your car would if you were running out of fuel. And this is where the mental warfare begins, because unlike your car, your body can actually continue running on seemingly empty tank. I must say I was ready for it, but when your mind is cloudy, it takes everything you've got to not give in. My mind was coming up with all kinds of creative ways to justify to stop running or to walk for a little bit or to stretch. Hey, your muscles are cramping. When you stop or walk, you will feel better. When you walk for a little bit, you'll be able to run faster. If you don't stop, you will totally bomb in a moment. You should stop by the paramedics and get some salt tablets. You'll feel better. Your ankles and knees are killing you. What are you doing, man? Just walk, just for a little bit. You'll feel so much better. And dozens of variations of these little voices that were trying to get me to slow down or stop or walk. For me, this was a massive test of how strong my mind is and how in control I am of my mindset. And this is how I kept myself running. So here's the first thing that I did that helped me continue. I kept asking myself, hey, can you still run? regardless of how your body feels? And hey, the answer was yes, I could still run. I was exhausted, I was in pain, but I could still run. So I kept repeating to myself, hey, stop being a pussy, man, come on, come on. And I must say, hey, that really helped me. The second thing that kept me going was that I had a goal to finish the marathon under 4 hours. I knew I was close, but I didn't know exactly how close I was to the time because my GPS tracker was already showing me that I crossed the 42 kilometer mark, but I still had around 1 or 2K left. It's because, you know, when you run in the crowd, you're not running in the ideal line, so you actually end up running more than 42 kilometers. But I knew I was quite close to the 4-hour mark. And I was pretty sure that if I walked or stopped, I would most likely miss the 4-hour mark. And on top of that, I didn't want to walk. I wanted to run the whole thing. I didn't want to kind of live with knowing that I didn't run the whole marathon. So towards the end, I reached somewhere in me and I actually mustered up some extra energy and I sped up. Hey, at that point, when you close to the finish line, one thing I noticed was that the extremes between runners grew wider. Where on one hand you could see runners just squeezing the last bits of energy and they're speeding up. Where on the other hand you had more and more runners actually walking or standing by the road, stretching or even sitting on the ground. I even saw a few people lying on the road where some paramedics were attending to them. And then I was passing Big Ben and Westminster Abbey, and then I saw a big mark of 800 meters left. And I thought to myself, come on man, so close. The finish is so near, so I tried to speed up even more. My quads were cramping, my ankles and my left knee was on fire, but I didn't care. I was 200 meters from the finish line and I wanted to give it absolutely everything. I remember towards my left, I saw two guys carrying a guy who wasn't even able to stand on his own legs. I remember telling myself or screaming at myself at that point, come on man, come on man. And hey, finally, I crossed the finish line.
Just finished. I'm done. Fucking hell. It's a bit emotional, to be honest. Amazing.
I had nothing left in me at that moment, and I remember my legs were on fire, my quads were cramping.
Okay, well done.
Thank you. There you go. Oh man. My legs are cramping so bad. That's crazy.
At that moment, I must admit, I had a little lump in my throat. It was quite an emotional moment because the combination of the adrenaline, the exhaustion, the burn, the pain, the kind of the victory of and the emotions of all the runners around me, it was an incredible moment. It was a really intense experience. And then I got a text message from Virgin Money London Marathon saying, congratulations on completing the race. Your finish time is 4 hours, 2 minutes and 4 seconds. And you know what? I didn't care. And I still don't care. Yes, I didn't finish in under 4 hours, but I know that I've given it my absolute best. I left it all there on the track. I did my absolute best. I won over my mind. I won over my doubts, my pain, and the exhaustion. Above all the expected emotions like pride, satisfaction, achievement, the main feeling that took over me was contentment and peace for doing the best I could and for not letting myself down. In afterthoughts, I think that the medal was 40% for the marathon and 60% for the training. Running a marathon is an incredible experience. If you feel like you have it in you, or actually if you feel like you couldn't, I highly encourage you to try. Maybe start with smaller races, 5K, 10K, half marathons. The atmosphere, the connection with other runners, the fellowship is incredible. The support from the people watching it is absolutely incredible. It feels amazing to be part of something like that. What feels the best is proving to yourself that you can do something you thought you wouldn't be able to do. And so it was a great personal challenge. It definitely wasn't my last one. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because I want to encourage you and maybe inspire you to challenge yourself and stretch yourself, get out of your comfort zone and just try something that you just don't think you'd be capable of doing. Because when you're done and you know that you've given it your best, the feeling is indescribable and it actually lives with you for quite a long time. And finally, I'd love to thank Children with Cancer charity who I was running for and fundraising money for. If you'd still like to support me, please, the link is in the description. They've been absolutely amazing in the way they supported us, all the runners, in the time leading up to the race, throughout the race, by cheering and so on. And especially after the race, they really took great care of me and other runners with the food and drinks and the hospitality, and I got massage as well. So that was pretty amazing. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and watch my other videos that are more on personal development. You know, I'm here to help you become the best version of yourself and create more exciting and more fulfilling life. And with this video, I want to show you that I definitely push myself as well. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on another video.